On this episode of At the Lakha Khan Museum, an artist who tells the story of a heartbreaking transition through tapestries, and musicians from different backgrounds who come together on stage around their one common language. Hello and welcome to At the Lakha Khan Museum. I'm Umair Jaffar. Hangama Amiri has seen drastic transitions in her life. As a young girl in Afghanistan, she saw changes that would cause her family to leave home. This had a huge impact on Amiri and her work. At a recent exhibition here at the Lakha Khan Museum, we saw her themes of loss, gender, and political conflict play out on a series of tapestries that were both insightful and approachable.
Fabric is so fragile, it's so tactile, right? It moves, it stretches, it has awkward edges, it's imperfect. And that's what I'm so into it. My world has never been perfect. My name is Hangama Amiri. I'm an artist and I work with fabric and textile. I was originally born in Peshawar, Pakistan. And that was during the Civil War that my parents were migrating and we ended up in Kabul. There was a small market, or bazaar I call it, and that one of my uncle, his tailor shop was in that bazaar too. So when I really look back, that tailor shop was the most happiest point, because every morning before going to my school I would stop by at his tailor shop and be introduced to his crafts and art, and to see these fabrics that he had, like white, beige, cream, and the sounds of scissors. So I think these were the most happiest I had. I have this memory of going to school and suddenly I would see teachers and students be in a very worrisome moment. And that was the time that everyone was just listening to the radio. And the radio were preaching rules that women are not allowed to go to schools and women are not allowed to work. A few of my aunts were teachers in that school as well. So I would go to them and be like, what's going on? What's happening? And they would say yeah, schools will shut down soon and me and you will not be allowed to go back. I think burqa was a mandatory, those times, the blue burqa. Basic rights were taken away from women, such as nail polish. And women were not allowed to be beautiful for some reason. And no shiny fabrics, because it will distract the male gaze. For me, growing up, seeing these evidence and seeing my mom slowly not wearing this beautiful, colorful nail polish, it was sad. I feel like my mother is one of my role models in my life. She went to these countries all by herself, actually, because my father was seeking refugee in European countries. So there was that time gap in between. Halifax, Nova Scotia was our second home, and that was our first contact to Western world. I did painting for more than 14 years, but I've always had this sort of a battle of connection. Why am I so invested painting cultural materials through using this medium, but why not using actual material? The only agency that I had as a young girl was these scraps of cloths. I remember used to make small dolls with my cousins. So that was my access to the art world. And that's how it all became to be these tapestry sort of textile pieces that I'm making today. I make images that look like painting, but they're not painting. They're more softer, they're more seductive. I work sections by sections, not all at once. So once they're being sewn by machine, they all come together as a puzzle to make the image. So this whole process really connects who I am. I'm full of these little patches and events in history. And these patches or fabrics also comes from these countries that I lived. So it's very demographic. It brings that demography landscape in my work, in my process. The entire installation has 11 works suspended from the ceiling, and each work depicts a still life. And these still life are either found, either being pointed at, or either being reconciled. There were a lot of internal displacement when the Taliban, took over. So a lot of people end up selling their domestic objects for an economic issues. So seeing those sort of reality from afar away and seeing myself as a diaspora artist, I'm also been in search of these lost objects. I really wanted the installation to have this idea of like dance, this idea of like moving through the images. You somehow find yourself in between life, in between these objects that I'm presenting. Also trying to point at certain objects in order to be touched, in order to reach out, in order to be remembered. So that's the gesture that I'm bringing. The pieces have hands, and the majority of hands has these beautiful red nail polish. And they're very shiny because I use the silk or polyester that kind of reflects light. And when I mention quiet resistance, it's because using such symbolism or like beauty decoration that we use, such as nail polish, it really goes back to those times that I would see my mom not wearing nail polish anymore because those basic needs were taken away from them because of the Taliban regime. So that's what I call it, very quiet resistant. It's the material is very soft, the material is very tangible, but also the shininess. It kind of goes back to that as a weapon to fight back.
Coming up, a beautiful confluence of musical cultures. We recently released a second season of our documentary series, Searching for the Blues, featuring Manganyar musician Lakha Khan, who is the master of the Sindhi Sarangi, a stringed instrument from India. In this series, the master came to Canada. He performed with Canadian and Pakistani musicians right here in this auditorium. They discovered the commonalities in their musical backgrounds. We're going to hear a section of that concert in a few moments. But first, here's a conversation I had with one of the people responsible for bringing Lakha Khan to Canada. Hello, I'm joined by Umair Jaffar, the CEO of Small World Music here in Toronto, and our partner, not just on this project, but on many others. Welcome, Umair.
Thank you, Bhai. Thank you for having me, and thanks for the opportunity to partner once again at this for this brilliant performance.
Well, I want you to tell us in your words why it was important to bring an artist like Lakha Khan to Canada.
Well, Lakha ji is really the best in the world, a folk musician from the region and the Sindhi Sarangi player. So having one of the best in the world is on its own a special thing. But there were several other factors that made this even more special for me and for the audiences we work with and the communities we engage with. Firstly, it was a bit of a celebration because Lakha ji had just won the Padma Shri, and he was proudly wearing the medal at the performance as well. So it was wonderful we were able to do this and not to a lifetime of remarkable work that he has produced. The second thing that was really interesting was how a lot of the audience members were connecting to this music and finding out about this music, which in most cases was their own cultural heritage, for the first time. So just having a space where the diasporic communities are able to reconnect with parts of their culture that they didn't have an opportunity to experience before. And lastly, for me personally, it was also very moving because I spent a long time doing ethnomusicological work in Pakistan, in Sindh region of Pakistan specifically, which is where the Sindhi Sarangi is supposed to originate from. However, in Pakistan, there are no Sindhi Sarangi players alive. There are Sindhi Sarangis locked up in museums, but that essentially means it's a dead instrument. Like if there's no music coming out of the instrument, and just having it archived into in a library display or in a museum display, it is not the same thing. So that was for me the first time I met someone who was actually playing the Sindhi Sarangi. So I saw the instrument come to life, an instrument which I was searching for almost a decade across Pakistan. Um, and there it was in front of us.
And, you know, we were able to bring together not only Lakha Khan, but also from Pakistan. We were able, because you mentioned Pakistan, Farid Ayaz, Abu Muhammad, to perform in a double bill and to even have a chance to collaborate on stage. And what do you think the impact of that was on the audience that attended?
Well, that's again something that's so special about the museum, its mission, and about Toronto, where we are able to create safe spaces where artists can interact with each other. Artists who are in some occasions like this one, opposite sides of a political border that divides people. So just having that performance where we had these interactions was very special, where we were able to experience similar repertoire being presented and similar music being presented from two different perspectives. And of course, I do want to add that we had those wonderful artists from Toronto, which is another layer on top of the two masters that were on stage. And really only in Canada we experienced this, where we've had remarkable musicians who go and explore music from all over the world, in this case Hindustani music, and bring their own unique flavor to music that is so connected to traditions from the region.
Yeah, I thought that was it was very cool. And I think it surprised the artists from South Asia
For
as well.
sure.
So their expectations were kind of challenged. What do you think about what were was it what you expected? Was it what people expected?
I think for sure the audience was not expecting that. It was a bit of a surprise for everyone who was in the audience that day, and I'm sure through this video as well, people will experience something that's very rare and unique. The Lakha Khan's interaction with Farid Ayaz, it's never happened before, and that's something that was the magic that was created.
I think I agree with you completely. And I think that, one of the things that you do through Small World Music and that the museum endeavors to do as well is to try and preserve and record some of these performances. How important do you think that is?
I think it's crucial. These masters carry on traditions that come down hundreds and in some cases even thousands of years. So preserving them for the future generation is crucial, but also having performances live ensure that they are that the masters and the traditions survive for the future generations. That inspires. I'm sure there are people in the audience that were inspired. There will be people watching this that would be inspired. And that would mean that there is a new generation of fans and maybe other musicians who will pick up a tradition that these masters carry and take it to the future, and ensuring that our heritage gets passed on.
Well, I certainly was inspired, and I look forward to working with you in the future with your organization.
Thank you.
It's been great talking to you. Thank you so much.
Likewise. Thank you. Bye.
Now that we've whetted your appetite, here's a selection from that memorable night.
ਚਸੇ ਯਾਰ ਹੋਵੇ ਲਜਪਾਲ ਹੋਵੇ ਤਾਂ ਯਾਰੀ ਲਾਵਣ ਚਸੇ ਯਾਰੀ ਖਾਤਰ ਸਰ ਜੇ ਮੰਗੇ ਮੈਂ ਕੋ ਸਰ ਦੇਵਣ ਕਿਹੜੀ ਕਸ ਹੈ ਯਾਰੀ ਖਾਤਰ ਸਰ ਜੇ ਮੰਗੇ ਮੈਂ ਕੋ ਸਰ ਦੇਵਣ ਕੇ ਓ ਵੇ ਮੁੱਲਾ ਚੁੱਪ ਕਰ ਮੁੱਲਾ ਚੁੱਪ ਕਰ ਚੁੱਪ ਕਰ ਚੁੱਪ ਕਰ ਤੂੰ ਕੀ ਸ਼ਰਾ ਰੱਖਣੀ ਸ਼ਰਾ ਨਾਲ ਫਕੀਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਰਹੀ ਹੋਈ ਏ ਤੇ ਤੂੰ ਆਪਣੀ ਸ਼ਰਾ ਦਾ ਖਿਆਲ ਮੁਲਾ ਤੇ ਤੂੰ ਆਪਣੀ ਸ਼ਰਾ ਦਾ ਖਿਆਲ ਮੁਲਾ ਮੈਂ ਕੋ ਯਾਰ ਮਨਾਣ ਦੀ ਪਈ ਹੋਈ ਏ ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਵੇ ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਖੇੜਿਆ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਖੇੜਿਆ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਓ ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਖੇੜਿਆ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਵੇ ਤੁਝਕੋ ਜ਼ਾਹਿਦ ਹੋ ਮੁਬਾਰਕ ਤੇਰੀ ਜन्नत ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਖੇੜਿਆ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਓ ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਖੇੜਿਆ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਓ ਰਾਂਝਾ ਮੇਰਾ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਸੋਹਣਾ ਰਾਂਝਾ ਮੇਰਾ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਸੋਹਣਾ ਰਾਂਝਾ ਮੇਰਾ ਰਾਂਝਾ ਮੇਰਾ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਸੋਹਣਾ ਮੈਂ ਕੋਜੀ ਹੀਰ ਸਿਆ ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਖੇੜਿਆ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਓ ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਖੇੜਿਆ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਦਿਲ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਾਂਝੇ ਦਾ ਖਿਆਲ ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਖੇੜਿਆ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਓ ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਵੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਵਾਹ 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 ਨਿਸਿਓ ਨਹੀਂ ਮੈਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਵੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਉਹ ਸੋਹਣੇ ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਓ ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਖੇੜਿਆ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਓ ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਰਾਂਝਾ ਮੇਰਾ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਸੋਹਣਾ 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 ਰਾਂਝਾ ਰਾਂਝਾ मजहब हो जिसका मजहब हो फकत याद सनम दीद सनम जिसका मजहब हो फकत याद सनम जिसका मजहब हो फकत जिसका मजहब हो फकत याद सनम दीद सनम वो नहीं जानता वो नहीं जानता काफिर या मुसलमान होना मैं नहीं जाना तेरा तेरा मैं नहीं जाना तेरा तेरा मैं नहीं जाना तेरा तेरा वाह.
Thanks for watching at the Aga Khan Museum. As you've seen from this show, our home is Toronto, and it's a meeting place for ideas and talent. We want you to be part of it. Please join us on Facebook, Instagram, and our website. And as always, we'd love to see you here in person as well. I'm Amir Ali Alibhai. We'll see you next time.